Hi everyone, Starthony Boy Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Weeknd record, Starboy. Quickly following up his 2015 album Beauty Behind the Madness, on which he had many chart-climbing singles, Abel Tesfaye, aka The Weeknd, is back with a new album. Technically his third album, even though he's been around for years at this point, originally breaking through with this series of free mixtapes back in 2011 that were very well received. He's been going strong ever since. I haven't been crazy about a lot of the material he's put out. I mean, here and there he has blown me away, but regardless of what I think, he is most definitely a force in modern music, though at one point he was seen as just merely another Drake protege. But recently he's really become a force unto himself, and a huge trendsetter too, because there are countless artists on the internet right now that are just shamelessly copying his moody, sad R&B style to the point where it just makes me sick. As inconsistent as some of the Weeknd's albums can be, I will take Abel over some shoddy ripoff any day. Which is why I went into this new record over here with high hopes. That and the fact that I thought some of the lead singles from this thing were pretty great. Starboy, the title track, I actually think is one of the best singles of 2016. I love the song's moody tale of fame and excess, the track's sad, soft pianos, and Daft Punk-inspired production. And that's another thing. Having Daft Punk on your record, it's more than just a feature. It's a sign of what's to come. Like there's going to be some kind of sea change or something. Though I will say in a lot of ways, Starboy is quite similar to Beauty Behind the Madness. Once again, Abel isn't really able to settle on one sound, and while he does come through with some highlights, overall it's still a pretty inconsistent record. Whether it be because he's writing the same song and telling the same story after all these years, like on the song Party Monster, which is about this girl, this drunk, drugged-out socialite that Abel seems to be infatuated with because he has it in his mind that she's going to understand him, get his drive to party. Once again, he's kind of looking for love in the wrong places, and at this point it's getting kind of tedious listening to Abel call out into the night for this glamorized version of the girl who you see walking down the sidewalk at 3 a.m. with her heels in her hands and mascara streaming down her face as she kind of hobbles her way over to the spot where her Uber's going to pick her up. Then we have the song False Alarm, which seems to be pretty polarizing for a lot of Weeknd fans, though I appreciate what Abel's trying to do here. Whether or not he succeeds, I think that's debatable. I love the track's driving beat, its vintage synth lines. I like that it's kind of a throwback. It feels somewhat krautrock inspired in some ways, and I like the way that the hook is so propulsive, it's explosive. The weird shrieking shouts on the track are pretty experimental too, though these spots really, I don't know, clash, I would say. Not just with Abel's style generally, but the moments on this track where he sort of slows it down and just goes super moody like he usually does. I actually think the vocal melodies on the verses are pretty weak too. If only the verses had been more solid, maybe the chorus would have felt like a bigger, better, more interesting payoff. Though some people seem to not really care for it, I love the song Reminder. It seems like an interesting update from the standpoint of Abel in regards to his fame, his lifestyle, what he's been doing. He mentions a recent nomination by the Nickelodeon Teen Choice Awards for the song Can't Feel My Face. Loved that single, but not really the kind of song I would be sort of, you know, Nickelodeon Teen Choice Awards. It's literally about doing some coke. So Abel does make some sharp and interesting observations about his status in the music industry, saying that people can't replace him even though they claim that other people made him, and sort of how he perceives his music, who he sees his music as being for. And I think the track's smooth synthesizers and really easygoing beat are very intoxicating. And that line about his Asian girl going, "Low, Maine," is definitely a gem, a moment of Danny Brown style inspiration. But then we just go headfirst into a pothole right after with the song Rockin', which is another track where Abel is happy to wear his Michael Jackson influence on his sleeve. The track's house beat is really obnoxious, sounds like a lesser version of what you might find on a Disclosure record, and Abel was really out to lunch on these lyrics, some of the worst lyrics on the entire record. And I don't care what you think about this album, love it, hate it, but the pre-chorus vocal on this song is inexcusable when he starts singing, "Oh, why would you wanna take away Yeah, not a bright spot in this album's track list. And the song Love to Lay is an equally tacky attempt at trying to insert dance music into the Weeknd's musical equation. The song Secrets, though, is another refreshing change of pace instrumentally and even vocally. It sounds like Abel's really trying to throw back to another decade. A lot of things on this track to me are pulled right out of the new wave playbook. However, he sort of manages to carry over the genre's unbearable corniness that eventually led to its demise. As Abel is singing that he hears the secrets that you keep when you're talking in your sleep. But then we hop forward 10 years, just really like that, miraculously on the song True Colors, where Abel does incredible justice to the 90s slow jam, which to me is one of his most honest, heartfelt, and moving ballads that he's ever done. It might just be the glistening instrumental talking here, but when I read into the lyrics of this track, it sounds like he actually wants to get to know this person who he's singing about. There doesn't seem to be a lick of sarcasm here or cynicism. Some legitimate feelings of true love and desire and infatuation come through on tracks like Die For You and Nothing Without You as well, though honestly I really do have to suspend belief in order to believe what Abel is saying on these tracks, considering what he typically sings about and says in regards to the women who he sings about, usually just wanting to, coke them up and cock them up and then throw them to the curb. Maybe not the best tracks in the track listing, but certainly an interesting alteration of angle from Abel. And then with the track A Lonely Night, I love the electro-funk vibe of this cut. Sounds like Chromeo did the instrumental. And somehow it just works, even though I would never imagine in my head Abel doing too well over this kind of beat. Especially since on his last record, when he was on a warm instrumental, he came off so cold and stiff. But he does pull off some semblance of swagger on this cut, as he's singing about how he and his lover are bad for each other. I'm not really sure the album needed 2 songs with 2 future features, honestly. He could have picked the best of the 2 tracks and just left it at that. I'm not really crazy about either of the 2 songs, but really just two is redundant. And while the songs Attention and Ordinary Life aren't awful tracks, they just kind of serve as a reminder that at this point, Abel is really kind of running out of things to sing about. He's successful, and he's being hounded by shallow women who just want him for his success, want him for his fame, want him for his relevance, etc., etc., etc. Wash, rinse, repeat. You would think that since he's so deep into his career at this point, he would have some kind of new, refreshing perspective on these issues, but he's really singing about them with no more nuance than he was in 2011. His descriptions of the lifestyle he leads, the lifestyle that he glamorizes, are still shallow, and the characters are still one-dimensional. I commend this album for the handful of risks that it takes, and for the fact that it's a little more consistent sonically and instrumentally than Beauty Behind the Madness was. But still, the album's best songs stand shoulder to shoulder with filler, redundancies, and experiments that either go up like a rocket or down like the Hindenburg. So again, in that respect, this album is really not that much different than Beauty Behind the Madness. It's long and it's really spotty. You have the Stargirl interlude with Lana Del Rey, which is just, I don't know, an opportunity for her to bring the fusion of an orgasm and a whale call. And then right after, Kendrick Lamar on the track Sidewalk, which is easily one of the best tracks in the track listing in my opinion. The Weeknd actually on top of a kind of a boom-bappy beat. Kendrick kills it on his verse, in my opinion. He sort of gets filthy, sexual, low down, and dirty like you would want on a Weeknd record. Sure, it's not real classy, but I think he fits the bill. And it's just this constant roller coaster of like, wow, this is great, wow, this is not, wow, this is great, wow, this is not. So unfortunately, I'm feeling a light to decent 5 on this thing, but there are just enough highlights on this record to make me curious once again, can Abel actually like pull it off on the next one? I'm not really sure. I mean, so far this album formula seems to be working for him, so I guess there's probably no real reason to change, but still, at least in the case of this record, and most likely the next one, there are a couple singles I can take away from it and really enjoy and probably throw onto my year-end list. Again, light to decent 5. Charan! And there you have, ladies and germs, my thoughts on the new Weeknd album. I hope you enjoyed it a little more than me, maybe. And if you have deeper thoughts about this record, leave them down there in the comments section. Angry, positive, whatever. Totally cool. All sorts of links next to my head, other videos I think you should check out, subscription, website, and hope you guys are well. Eat some fruits and vegetables, get a good night's sleep forever.
I hate Anthony Fantano.